On the eve of Passover, CBS Television presents a special program commemorating the 50th anniversary of the American Jewish Committee.
And so, my friends, we have a particular reason for joy this Passover season. After 4 years of bloody conflict, in which this nation was torn asunder, in which kinsman fought with kinsman, and each of us suffered his own private grief. After 4 years of real conflict, through the goodness of God and the guidance of our beloved President, we are now a nation united and at peace. But, my friends, while we celebrate Passover, let us not forget the just cause for which the war was fought, the deliverance of 4 million human beings from slavery. Let us remember our own past and the words of the Haggadah. In every generation, it is each man's duty to look upon himself as if he personally had come out of Egypt.
In every generation, it is each man's duty to look upon himself as if he personally had come out of Egypt. Whatever those words meant to the rest of the Omaha congregation that Passover morning, they had a very special meaning for Edward Rosewater.
Morning, Mr. Yoakum.
Oh, morning, John. Well, did you get a good price for your cotton?
Oh, not bad, considering. Now, if we can just keep that man out of the White House.
On his save?
I don't know. But wait till you see what I got in the baggage car.
You been buying more livestock?
Well, it ain't exactly a four-footed animal.
Here, did you see anything of the fellow on the train that's coming here to operate the telegraph?
No, but I slept all the way down. Well, here's my baggage. Come on in, boy. Nothing to be scared of. Well, Mr. Yoakum, what do you think of it?
Looks all right to me.
All right? I'll say he's all right. Show him your muscles, Jupiter. Look at that. If I had a bale of cotton here, I'd really show you something. He could lift it with one hand, easier than you could lift a feather. What do you think I paid for it?
Oh, 150, 200.
Not one red cent. I won him in a poker game.
Look, I know it's none of my business, but did I hear you say you won this man in a poker game?
That's right. But who in the heck are you, son?
My name's Rosewater. Ed Rosewater. I'm the new telegrapher here.
Howdy, Mr. Rosewater. I'm Dan Yoakum. We've been expecting you. And this is Mr. Redfern. He's one of our leading citizens.
Where do you come from, son?
Cleveland, Ohio.
I thought so. I'll tell you what. You drive out to my plantation someday, and I'll show you a thing or two that may surprise you. I treat my colored folks fair and square, and they like me. What's more, they don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. I do all the worrying.
But that's not the point, sir. It's not right for one man to have the power to buy and sell another man.
Now, look, son, you say you come down here to run the telegraph? Well, I won't tell you how to do your business. You don't tell me how to do mine. We'll get along just fine. Well, now I got to go see what's holding up my buggy. Jupiter, you take care of this for me, and you just stay right over here.
Oh, Mr. Rosewater, the telegraph's right over here. Last fella left about 2 days ago. Everything all right?
Fine. I'll show you. I'm going to send a message.
I still ain't got used to it. It just don't seem human.
That's what Mr. Morse must have thought. What hath God wrought?
If you don't mind me asking, what do all those little dots and dashes say?
Well, it's a message I'm sending to my girl back in Cleveland. It says, arrived safely in Egypt.
But, son, this ain't Egypt.
I'm a Jew, Mr. Yoakum. To us, Egypt is any place where people aren't free.
But you are free, son. You're as free as a June bug.
No, I'm not. And neither are you. And neither is Mr. Redfern. Not with him squatting over there. Look, every time I lock up this telegraph and go for a walk around town, my hands in my pockets, nobody telling me where I can go or where I can't. I'll think of him. The stars won't be half as pretty, and the grass won't smell half as sweet because of him.
You sure can talk, Mr. Rosewater.
Call me Ed.
Ed?
I talk too much, I know it. I do get stirred up. Sometimes people don't even know what I'm talking about. Like Leah's father. Here she is.
She's pretty.
Her father has a big dry goods store back in Cleveland. Wanted me to go to work for him. But I don't want anything handed to me on a silver platter. Oh, my mother. Well, I guess I won't be needing these down here, huh?
Oh, you can use a bed in that little room there. We ain't got no hotel here.
Oh, that's all right. I don't mind. I like a depot. That's where I learned the telegraph, back in Cleveland. I never did go to school. My father came over here from the old country when I was 8 years old. Everything he had was in this bag. I had to go to work to help feed us. I used to peddle things. Anything from door to door. Just to get enough to eat. And sometimes I used to go to bed hungry.
Well, it seems to me you weren't much better off than this man.
But I was, don't you see?
Wait a minute. This slave's gone.
Well, where would he go?
I don't know, but I gotta find him.
Well, maybe Mr. Redfern came back to get him.
No, you can hear Mr. Redfern coming a mile off. I got to go find him and tell him his slaves took to the road. Now, you keep an eye on things for me.
Mister! Come on, quick! Get down, they'll see you. Where were you?
I was hiding on the depot. When I see them taking off looking for me, I come back in here.
Why?
Maybe you help me get away.
That's the room where I'm supposed to sleep. I don't think they're looking there. Come on.
I'll stay until it gets black dark, and I'll go.
Where?
I don't know. Maybe they catch me, maybe not. But I've got nothing to lose. Whichever way it turns out, I'll never forget you, mister.
Go, go.
Lincoln still ahead?
Oh, Douglas has picked up another 500 votes, but Abe's still got a majority.
Mr. Redpine will be coming down directly to get the news. I suppose you know they're having a meeting tonight.
I heard rumors.
Talk about secession. If I was you, I'd keep my mouth buttoned up when Mr. Redpine gets here.
Oh, well, you know me. I feel things, I have to say 'em.
Save them for tomorrow. Say them to me. I'm a good listener.
I know. If it hadn't have been for you, I'd have exploded. But you know, it's a funny thing. I've been here for 2 months, and I don't even know what you think.
Ed, I think you ought to go back home and marry her.
Ah, she's still mad at me. 'Cause I wouldn't work in her father's store. But that's not what I meant anyway. What do you think about slavery?
Slavery. I've never been a slave owner myself. Never had the opportunity. Can't say as I want to be.
Well, you must have some feelings about it.
Sure, I got feelings about everything under the sun. My feelings about slavery is that the first wrong was done in bringing all those colored folks over here from their natural homes.
You're right about that.
No,
But
now,
Annie-
wait a minute, son. You asked me. It wasn't Southerners who done that, you remember? It was slave traders from way...
I know from New England. I grant you that. We're all guilty. But calling each other names isn't going to solve the problem. What are we going to do about it?
It's too big for me to solve. There are over 3 million of those colored folks here now, they say. My mind just can't take in that many. I can only deal with one person at a time, and they come my way.
All right, well, let's take them one at a time. Take one slave. Take that Jupiter, who ran away from Mr. Redfern.
Jupiter. I've been aiming to trim this old wick here. Yeah. I always figured that somebody helped him to get away.
Oh, well, that's what I think, too. Did you ever have any ideas about who it might be?
Yeah, I had plenty of ideas. I always figured that this little back room here was a mighty good place to hide somebody in. Yeah, I trimmed that wick.
Here come some more returns.
Well, what's the news, son? Good or bad?
It's good news, sir. As far as I'm concerned,
No?
Bell and Breckenridge are so far behind you can't even see them. And the last return gives Lincoln 970,000 to Douglas's 6.
You call that good news?
I do, sir. Get some more.
What's it saying now? And you hurry it up, Nud?
He's won. Lincoln's won. Lincoln's won.
Now, look here, son. It seems to me like you'd be better off someplace where more folks shared your opinions.
Hurrah for Abe Lincoln. Hurrah for Abe Lincoln and the Union.
In every generation, it is each man's duty to look upon himself as if he personally had come out of Egypt.
These things Ed Rosewater was remembering that Passover morning. He was remembering Jupiter and Mr. Yoakum. And he was remembering, too, a bleak November afternoon, 2 years later.
Still no news from General McClellan?
No, sir. No news is good news, I guess.
Well, not always. Fisherman doesn't call it good luck when he doesn't get a bite. Now does he? Come in.
I'm Edward Rosewater. I'm reporting for... Oh, I beg your pardon, sir. I mean, Mr. President. I must be in the wrong room.
Now, hold on a minute, young fella. Are you the new telegrapher?
Yes, sir. I've got my orders right here.
Rosewater. I don't think I've ever heard that name before.
Well, it's really Rosenwasser, sir. My father Americanized it.
I see. Wasser's German for water, isn't it?
That's right, sir. I mean, Mr. President.
Oh, forget the titles. So, you weren't born in this country?
No, sir. I was born in Bohemia, a place called Bukovany. You probably never even heard of it.
Don't apologize. That reminds me of Paddy back in Springfield. Faith, he said. I would have been born in America if I could. I wanted to, but me mither wouldn't let me. Well, I see you've been under fire, young fella, with Fremont in West Virginia, McClellan at Manassas.
I was helping to lay the telegraph wires, sir, that would keep our forces in communication with the other commands.
You saw a lot of shooting. How bad was it?
Well, it was pretty bad, sir. I don't really know how to describe it to you. No one can tell you what a war is like.
No. No one can tell you. You're right. Mr. Rosewater, why don't they commission you telegraphers? They would, if I were running the country. Well, I think I'll go over to the White House for a while. Have a game of checkers with my little boy before he goes to bed. Mrs. Lincoln doesn't like living behind the store, but it has certain advantages.
Well, welcome to the telegraph office. I'm O'Shea. This is Johnson. This is your place here. Your code number is 316. The rest of the crew's in the back room.
Well, if you don't mind, I think it'll take me a minute or two to get my bearings. It was kind of a shock coming in and finding him here.
Oh, you mean Mr. Lincoln? You'll get used to him. He hangs around here a lot. What do you think of him now that you've met him?
What do I think of him? I think he's one of the greatest men in the world. But
what?
Well, why doesn't he free the slaves? He said he was going to. Why doesn't he? What's he waiting for?
There's a message coming through from General McClellan. Where's that messenger? Hawkins! Hawkins!
Ready, Mr. Rosewater?
Ready, sir.
To General McClellan. Hold on with a bulldog grip. And choke. And choke him.
Is that all, sir?
Now, send this message to General Pope at Bull Run. General, which side of the creek are you on? Signed, A. Lincoln. You know, young fella, that message I just sent reminds me of the old woman whose pig got loose. Like a streak of lightning, the pig headed for the creek. The old woman and her husband right on its tail. But somehow Mr. Pig disappeared. The old woman started yelling. Husband, do you see him? Which side of the creek is he on? I don't know, wife, husband hollers back, but I think he's on both sides. Well, those are my sentiments exactly. I hope General Pope is on both sides of that creek. Killed. 13,000 men. Are you sure there's no mistake?
I wish there were, sir. But that's the message that came through from Fredericksburg. 13,000 killed.
Feel like Abraham in the Bible. Only he had to sacrifice just one of his sons. Seems I must give all of mine. North and south alike. They're all mine.
you like to see the morning papers, sir?
No, not now. I know what they say. My generals are incompetent. I'm mismanaging the war, and the abolitionists want my scalp. Mr. Sumner and Mr. Stevens say that I've betrayed them. They want me to free all the slaves right now, today. No ifs and or buts. What do you think, young fellow?
You mean me, sir?
Yes, you. You must have an opinion.
Well, I do, sir. But I'm afraid you won't like it. I think I agree with Mr. Sumner and Mr. Stevens. I think the slaves ought to be freed. Until they're free, we have no moral position to fight the war on.
You don't fight a war with a moral position. You fight it with men's lives. I want the slaves freed as much as you, Mr. Sumner. But first, I want a military victory to back it up. Oh, bring me some good news over that telegraph of yours for a change.
He's done it. McClellan's done it.
Done what?
He stopped Lee at Antietam. Hawkins! Hawkins! We gotta get word of this to the White House. This is what he's been waiting for.
I'll have this for you in a minute. You know, I was just wondering whether I should put in a few whereofs and inasmuch ases to please Mr. Sumner. He likes highfalutin language. Oh? What's this?
Oh, I'm leaving, sir. I thought I told you.
Oh?
I'm being transferred out to Omaha. They're bringing in the telegraph from the west.
Oh, I remember now. I've had so much on my mind. Well, we'll miss you. I hope you won't be too lonesome way out there. You've been in the thick of things here.
Well, I'm getting married, sir, and I'm taking my bride with me.
Well, and it's a cinch you won't miss the war. You'll have your own private one. Well, now, I have a message here for you. I'd like you to take down.
Ready, sir. To whom does it go?
To the people of the United States. From the President of the United States. A proclamation. January the 1st, 1863. All persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall be in rebellion against the United States, shall be thenceforward and forever free. And upon this act, sincerely believed to be an act of justice, warranted by the Constitution upon military necessity, I invoke the considerate judgment of mankind and the gracious favor of Almighty God.
And the words of the Haggadah. In every generation, it is each man's duty to look upon himself as if he personally had come out of Egypt.
I'm sorry to interrupt the service, but this just came over the wire. The President, Mr. Lincoln, he's dead.
My friends, I have no words to express what I know we all are feeling. At a time like this, we look for some greater wisdom than our own. I think of Ecclesiastes. Everything has its season, and there is a time for everything under the heavens. There is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to laugh and a time to weep. My friends, we came here this morning with the joyful spirit of Passover, but now it seems to me that because of this tragic news, instead of our regular Passover service, it would be fitting to turn to the memorial prayer of the Yom Kippur service, the solemn Day of Atonement. El mole rachamim
Edward Rosewater was to remain in in Omaha to found the newspaper. He was to serve in the legislature of that state for many years. He was to become one of the founders of the American Jewish Committee and to fight through a long lifetime for the rights of minority groups in America. But the man he was to become had his roots in this early chapter of his life. Young Ed Rosewater had lived at a time in America when something old was beginning to die, when something new was struggling to be born. It is still a borning.
And now a brief holiday message by the President of the American Jewish Committee, Mr. Irving M. Engel.
First, may I express the appreciation of the American Jewish Committee to the Columbia Broadcasting System for making possible today's broadcast to climax our 50th anniversary celebration. At the time of the Passover season, which symbolizes the freedom of Jews from bondage, it is particularly fitting that American Jews give profound thanks for freedom's progress during the past half-century. It is equally fitting that we today dedicate ourselves anew to the extension of freedom not only for Jews, but for all men everywhere. As you heard in today's program, when Edward Rosewater and his compatriots founded the American Jewish Committee, they pledged themselves to nurture and to further the pursuit of equality at home and abroad. For the past 50 years, we have carried out these aims of the founders of the committee by combating bigotry, by protecting the rights of Jews, by advancing the cause of human rights throughout the world. Human equality is an ancient hope of man. It is the faith that pervaded the lawgivers of Israel, the signers of our own Declaration of Independence, and those who only yesterday drew up the Charter of the United Nations. The fulfillment of that hope in the years to come is the goal to which the members of the American Jewish Committee have pledged themselves this weekend. Dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, we feel it is a duty and a privilege to join with our fellow citizens of all faiths to make that proposition good. For we believe, as did Lincoln himself, that the principle of human equality must be the standard for a free society, constantly labored for, constantly approximated, constantly spreading and deepening its influence, enlarging the happiness and the value of life to all people everywhere.
CBS Television has presented a special program in cooperation with the American Jewish Committee, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Research material by the American Jewish Archive, Cincinnati, Ohio. Writing Mr. Rosewater has been a CBS Public Affairs program.